Good evening, and thank you for being here. There's so many more of you than I thought there would be. That's really nice. Here's a quote for you. To my eyes and ears, the organ will ever be the king of instruments. Any ideas? Good, that's close. Bach is close. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart spoke those words, and it is certainly my pleasure tonight to share some of the music written for this wonderful instrument. That very first piece you heard was by the famous Danish organist Dietrich Buxtehude, one of the most important composers of the Baroque period. Buxtehude's music had a huge influence on the composers of his era, including Johann Sebastian Bach and George Friedrich Handel. There are legendary stories of the young Bach hiking for miles and miles through the snow in order to hear the great Buxtehude play. His work typifies what we now call the North German school of organ music. It was not uncommon during this period between 1600 and 1750, the Baroque period, for music to be stylistically recognizable based on location in Europe. Not only was there a North German school, but also a French and Italian school and a host of others, each of which has a very specific style or characteristic that defined not only musical composition, but also the way organs in those regions were built. The next piece I'm going to play for you is by Johann Gottfried Walter. Walter was another German organist and was also a part of the North German school, and he was also a second cousin to Bach. In addition to being a well-respected composer, Walter was also a music theorist who took great interest in the compositional styles that have been found throughout Europe. And no surprise, some of those characteristics appear in some of his compositions. I'm playing for you what is probably his most famous composition, his partita on the German hymn, Jesu meine Freude. There are 10 partitas in the collection. I'm going to play 3 of them for you tonight, each which utilize some of the different colors of the organ to accentuate this lovely melody, and which reflect some of the other European influences in Walter's work, including both the French and the Italian. So this is Walter. If you didn't already know this, the organ is the oldest of all the keyboard instruments. We have evidence of organs appearing in Greece and Egypt as early as the 3rd century BC. These organs are often referred to as hydraulis because they used a water mechanism for supplying air to the wind chests on which sat a rank or two of pitched pipes. This set the stage, however, for how the instrument would later develop. And in order for an instrument to really be considered an organ, there has to be the presence of wind flowing through pipes or some other type of sound-producing mechanism. By the time we get to the mid-20th century, we see the invention of the electronic organ. And as technology advanced by the latter part of that same century, we see the production of digital organs. Though we often refer to these instruments as organs, they're actually synthesizers laid out in the style of an organ. Instead of using wind to create the sound of the instrument, these instruments utilize digitized samples and some other type of synthetic way of producing sound. The instrument here at Isle of Hope is actually a hybrid instrument, meaning that it is part pipe organ and part digital organ. This instrument was installed when the sanctuary was going through some major renovations with the additions of these transepts, and it incorporates 2 ranks of pipes that are right behind this grill work right here, along with a whole host of other digital sounds that come to us through speakers across the front of the sanctuary here. I thought it might be interesting to play a piece tonight using only the real pipes of the organ. And I could think of no better composer for this than Johann Sebastian Bach. Bach is considered by most to be the greatest of the Baroque composers, and he really set the standard for some of the most complex and ornately beautiful music ever created for the organ. And because we only have 2 ranks of real pipes, I'm going to play something simple of his today to go with the simple 2 ranks here. These are going to be 2 chorale preludes that Bach wrote based on hymns written by the great reformer Martin Luther. The first one will use only the real pipes on this instrument, while the second one will use those same stops but with combinations of other digital sounds that you'll hear. Interestingly enough, these are some of the newest of Bach's compositions, if that makes sense, meaning only that they weren't discovered until the 1980s. They come from a collection now referred to as the Neumeister collection, which was discovered sort of accidentally among inherited historical documents and manuscripts at Yale University. The Neumeister collection contains 31 previously unknown chorale preludes by Bach, probably written pretty early in his career, and these were first published in 1985. So, hope you enjoy it. One of my goals in putting together this program was to use music that would work well on this instrument and in this space. And in that process, I thought it might be most appropriate to include something that in some form or fashion reminds us of the history of this community of faith here at Isle of Hope. The historic sanctuary that was here for many, many years was used as a hospital during the Civil War, and the very pews that you're sitting on tonight were used as hospital beds. In fact, one of the pews near that back column there in the back has the initials of a Civil War soldier carved into it. And of course, there are 33 Confederate soldiers from Effingham County that are buried just outside. Given that history, I thought it appropriate to play this next piece, which first gained real prominence when it was used by Ken Burns in his 1990 Civil War documentary. Burns once said about the Ashokan farewell, "I think it was the theme that people could attach the series' identity to. There's nothing sexy or contemporary about it, really, and it's not a period piece, but it is really good music." This is Jay Ungar's Ashokan Farewell. This next piece is one of my favorite pieces for organ, and it has been since I first heard it as a college freshman. It's written by the French composer Olivier Messiaen. In my opinion, Messiaen has given the organ more important music than any other composer since Bach. His music is blazingly dramatic and intensely theological, and it doesn't always fit into what our ears would expect. Most of his music is rhythmically complex, and harmonically and melodically, he employed a compositional system that he called modes of limited transposition, which means that the pieces are constructed using modes or scales that fulfill specific criteria relating to their symmetry and the repetition of their interval groups. They form the basis for what Messiaen called the technique of my musical language. And the piece I'm going to play for you tonight is in English called The Apparition of the Eternal Church, Apparition de l'Église éternelle in French, and it's Messiaen's reflection on the communion of saints. If you're not familiar with Messiaen, this might just seem like a big mess of sound to you. But I encourage you to listen with open ears and capture some of the brilliance of Messiaen. Messiaen wrote this poem as the foundational inspiration for this piece. Made out of living stone, made out of heavenly stone, it appears in heaven. It is the Lamb's bride. It is the heavenly church, made out of heavenly stone, which is the chosen's souls. They are in God, and God is in them for heavenly eternity. So now for something totally different, we turn to the Beatles. Seems like a logical next step, right? This piece is sort of a palate cleanser from the serious heaviness of the Messiaen. It's based on John Lennon and Paul McCartney's iconic song Yesterday. It's been arranged here by British organist and composer Paul Ayres. I didn't know it existed until this summer. I had played one of Paul's other settings of a Beatles song, his toccata on All You Need Is Love, and he sent me an email a few months ago and said, you should check out this piece for your next concert, and so here we are. Well, I think that most any Beatles song arranged for organ is going to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek. There is a real beauty to this arrangement. It's written in a French Baroque style. The organ registration is going to feature that with the use of the beautiful cornet solo. There's some really beautiful moments. I hope you enjoy it. This is Paul Ayres' setting of Yesterday. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big Disney fan, and one of my favorite Disney World rides is Pirates of the Caribbean. So you can imagine my excitement when they created this wonderful series of films based on the ride. And when I first saw the second installment in this series and heard this next piece, I knew that I wanted to make a transcription of it. It's from Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and it's the piece that Davy Jones plays on the creepy organ that's located in his ship, the Flying Dutchman. And one of the perks of a digital organ like this one is that most of them have banks of typically non-organ sounds using MIDI technology. So I'm making use of some of those on this piece. You'll hear bowed glass. You'll even hear waves from the ocean. So this is Davy Jones. This next piece was commissioned by George Akerley, who is not only an accomplished church organist, but he's also the organist for the Philadelphia Phillies. He wrote this piece for the Holt Camp Organ Company in 2013, and it's a delightful, playful interpretation of nursery rhymes for organ and narrator. We'll hear Little Bo Peep, The Cats of Kilkenny, and a sort of hoedown version of The Fiddlers from Old King Cole with some abject apologies to the great French organist Charles-Marie Widor. One of the best things about this piece tonight, however, is that I get to perform it with my friend and colleague Nancy Vogelsang. This is a suite for Mother Goose.
Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and can't tell where to find them. Leave them alone and they'll come home and bring their tails behind them. Little Bo Peep fell fast asleep and dreamt she heard them bleating. But when she awoke, she found it a joke, for still they all were fleeting. She took her little crook, determined for to find them. She found them indeed, but it made her heart bleed, for they left all their tails behind them. Organists. It happened one day as Bo Peep did stray unto a meadow hard by. There she espied their tails side by side, all hung on a tree to dry. A sigh and wiped her eye, and over the hillock she raced and tried what she could, as a shepherdess should, that each tail should be properly placed, and tried what she could, as a shepherdess should, that each tail should be properly placed. There were once 2 cats of Kilkenny. Each thought there were 1 cat too many. So they fought and they fit and they scratched and they bit. They fought and they fit and they scratched and they bit, till accepting their tails and the tip of their tails, accepting their tails and the tip of two cats. There weren't any. Diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Oh, hickory dickory, 6 and 7, allabone, crackabone, 10 and 11, spin, spun, muscadine, twiddlum, twaddlum, 21. Jackie, come and give me my fiddle, if ever thou meant to thrive. Nay, I'll not give my fiddle to any man alive. If I should give my fiddle, they'll think that I've gone mad. For many a joyous day, my fiddlin' I have had. Oh, hickory dickory, 6 and 7, allabone, crackabone, 10 and 11, spin, spun, muscadine, twiddlum, twaddlum, 21. Now old King Cole was a merry old soul, and a merry old soul was he. He called for his pipe, and he called for his bowl, and he called for his fiddlers 3. Oh, hickory dickory, 6 and 7, allabone, crackabone, and 11, spin, spun, muscadine, twiddlum, twaddlum, 21. Hey, diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. The dish ran away with the spoon. The dish ran away with the spoon.
I'm closing tonight with a composition from another Tennessee boy. Craig Phillips currently serves as Director of Music at All Saints Episcopal Church in Beverly Hills, California, but he began his career as a student at the Blair School of Music at Vanderbilt University before going on to complete his master's and doctoral degrees in organ at the Eastman School in Rochester. This is his prelude on Engelberg, the tune which was written by the great English composer Charles Villiers Stanford, and for which we most commonly associate with the great Fred Pratt Green hymn, When in Our Music God is Glorified. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is Craig Phillips. You are very kind, and thank you so much for this warm welcome to Savannah. Special thanks to my wife, Lacey, for turning the pages. She had all of the control, That's right. Thank you for being here. I think Nancy has something she's going to share, but thank you for being here tonight.
There is a basket in the back if you would like to make a love offering to the music ministry. But thank you again for coming, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.